everybody enjoyed their Juneteenth. And to all my fathers out there, I hope that you guys enjoyed a restful, joyful, eventful Father's Day weekend. But we are packing the punches. We're back, new week, fresh energy, new slate of shows, and number one form for Bama football news on a Monday. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, the hype man for all things Crimson Tide information. In my own words, coming to you from Birmingham, streaming the show to you through YouTube. Speaking of a channel, go ahead right now, give us a thumbs up on the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Turn all of those notifications on, hit that bell so that way you can have the best news, notes, alerts, and entertainment on your favorite program. We got a lot to get to. We got a lot to dive in and discuss as what we're going to talk about right now. For me, I know some people may have concerns with Alabama at the quarterback position. You know, can Bryce Young really do this thing as the starting quarterback? But for me, I feel like this year's team goes as far as the offensive line goes, and I'm going to get into why I feel that way. Also, we're going to have Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, back on the day, but talk about and recap the massive recruiting weekend for the Tide and all of the young athletes that came, that visited, that toured, that just bombarded the University of Alabama campus in Tuscaloosa. Also, the Crimson Tide lost a huge in-state commitment as Shemar James gave his commitment to the Florida Gators. Now, how big this has hurt Alabama initially, we'll talk with Justin on all things recruiting. And then we look at Bama in the ESPYs. The ESPYs coming up on July 10th. The Crimson Tide nominated in 4 different categories. That is exciting to see right there. But we want you guys being a part of the conversation today, and you can do this by calling 205-448-1358. That's the number right there to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358, and one more time, 205-448-1358. Gotta shout out my man John Ivory in the building, handling his thing in the production studio. We gotta also shout out some super chats right now. You guys already hitting this off with a bang. We got Mechanic, who slides in here nicely with that $25 donation. But we also got Willie Beeman, my man Willie B from Philly Town, my man Philly man. Willie Beeman coming in here with that $20 donation on his end. That daily super chat goes $75. Daily super chat go. Appreciate Mechanic and Willie Beeman starting us off tonight on the show. But we get into topic number one right here, and like I mentioned, for some fans out there, there have been some slight concerns, small concerns about the offensive side of the ball. First and foremost, you look at quarterback. Now, people expect you look at quarterback, people expect for, people want to see Bryce Young do well, and hopefully he does his thing, and I think he will do his thing. But just for me, I feel like the offense will go as far as the offensive line takes it. I think this year's offensive line, there's a lot sort of riding on this group, especially when you look at the 2020 group that had Landon Dickerson, Alex Leatherwood, and Deontay Brown on it, all 3 of those individuals now in the NFL. And as good as the star players were on that team, as good as Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, as great as all those guys were, and those guys were awesome, they were fantastic, it was because of the closeness of the offensive line. It was the closeness, the continuity, and the chemistry of a Landon Dickerson, of a Emil Ekiyor, of a Alex Leatherwood, of an Evan Neal, of a Deontay Brown, of all of these guys together that made that team last year special. That 2020 team, offensively, we're talking about averaged, 48 and a half points per game. Because of the offensive line, we saw, Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, they all got huge awards at their respective positions because of the protection of the offensive line, the dominance of that line, and the way that line was able to come together. When you discuss, all 3 of those guys, also Jones, Smith, and Harris, they became All-Americans. experience because of the offensive line, and also all three became, of course, first team, first round draft picks. But when you look at just Dickerson, Deontay Brown, and Alex Leatherwood here, all three of those guys gone, were huge in helping this team be, Joe Moore Award-winning group here. So with those three guys departing on to the next level, you've got three guys returning when you discuss Evan Neal, Emil Ekiyor, and Chris Owens. Now, these three have experience. They've got a lot of experience. Chris Owens played a lot this past season. Came in, to fill in during the latter part of the year, especially when the playoffs came, when Dickerson got hurt. But Chris Owens has got experience. Ekiyor has experience at that offensive guard spot, primarily at right guard. And Evan Neal has got experience at offensive tackle, played all 13 games at right tackle a season ago. So you understand what Neal can provide, you understand what Owens can provide, you understand what Ekiyor can provide, and this is big, this is good, having all of those three guys back. But the question becomes the other two spots on that front line and discussing left guard and right tackle. And you've got some names here that'll be competing for those jobs. First and foremost, Tommy Brown, the redshirt junior from California. Tommy Brown played offensive guard, played all of right guard during the spring, especially in the 8A game. Got all of his reps at that guard position at 6'7", 320 pounds. Now, he's got some quickness, he's got some power, he's got some ability. Now, he's not an offensive tackle. He's more of a road grader. He's more of a phone booth. He's more of an inside guy. So he's in that push there for that left guard spot. But then you also got guys like Pierce Quick. Pierce Quick is in that conversation not only for the left guard spot, but Pierce Quick can play right tackle also. Then you've got guys like Javion Cohan and Damian George Jr. Both guys, big, physical, nasty, can get down on an offensive line. Javion Cohan looking to get in that right tackle spot there. Damian George, like I mentioned, he's got some versatility. He can be a guard or a tackle. When you discuss the likes of J.C. Latham and Tommy Brockermeyer, the same thing. You got these two freshmen in here that you guys are high on, the coaching staff is high on. Which one is ready to go in here and take on the mantle immediately and start is the big question. Both guys kind of in that right tackle spot there, or fighting for that right tackle spot, and discussing Latham and Brockermeyer, the two guys, both of these guys, 6'5" and taller. But when you look at Kendall Randolph, he's got experience as well, entering his 5th year in the program. He came in the 2017 class. Now, where Randolph is concerned, he gives you quality as a tight end and an offensive line. And provided if one of these young guys just doesn't step up and take the job, Saban has always been one for experience. And as I mentioned before, one of the guys on the offensive line is going to kind of be that swing man type of guy. He will get better. He will grow. He will progress as the season goes on. So there's Kendall Randolph. So to me, you've got a lot of guys in competition here for the last two spots. You got a lot of guys in competition here to fill out this entire offensive line, as a whole. But just getting back to the veteran guys, Chris Owens, Emil Ekiyor, and Evan Neal. This is good experience here. This is great experience here. But who plays with these guys? Because at the end of the day, this team will go as far as that front line. You got to have a line that's going to protect your quarterback. Bryce Young, shorter guy, smaller guy. You got to have a line that's going to protect your quarterback. You got to have a line that's going to open up those holes in the run game, play smash mouth football. Nick Saban wants to be able to have that ball control there. So it's great to have three returning starters who ends up making all five on the offensive line. But it's just great to have Neal, Ekiyor, and Chris Owens back. Just gearing back to the guys that departed here and talking Dickerson, Leatherwood, and Deontay Brown, the chemistry that those three had, the leadership that those three had, the stick-to-itiveness that Dickerson, Brown, and Leatherwood had, and just You know, when those three were on the field, you knew that Bama was going to move the ball. You knew that Bama was going to be dominant. You knew that you were going to have strong play in the passing game, strong play in the rushing attack. So having the guys that Alabama has back, the biggest key is going to be the consistency and the leadership that Evan Neal, Ekiyor, and Chris Owens will show, but also the guys competing behind those guys when you talk about trying to figure out who's going to be at left guard, who's going to be at right tackle, and then most importantly, you bring up Darian Dalcourt on that list of names as well. Darian Dalcourt has the ability to be center. I mean, I know Chris Owens is going to be the starting center, projected starting center, but when you look at Dalcourt, he's got that nastiness, he's got that physicality of a Dickerson, but he's also got kind of a natural playing ability that Antoine Caldwell had back in the day, back in the early 2000s here at Alabama. Probably know Nick Saban coming in here. So when you got a guy in a Dalcourt that's got the versatility, that's got the mindset, that's got the physicality, that's got the quick feet, he can do a lot here on this front line. So just to me personally, and I've always subscribed to big man in a slender man's body. And when you talk the offensive line, not many people are going to put the microscope on that particular group. They put the microscope everywhere else on the offense. But I feel like with this front line, if Saban and Doug Marrone can get the best 5 guys on the field working together, working in cohesion, working with chemistry and continuity, then this is going to be a solid group here for the Tide, and a group that will look to repeat as the Joe Moore Award winner. But we go to our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, just getting started. Upon our return, we get into your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your texts, a conversation with you, the Tide fans after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up. Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
As we are back in, folks, from the conversation from the break of a #1 forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have you guys in here on a Monday, getting that work week started off correctly. To all my fathers in the chat line and all my fathers around the world, I hope that each and every last one of you had a blessed, happy Father's Day weekend. Hope you guys got some relaxation, some fun time. Maybe you feel you got some fishing in. Who knows? But I just hope and pray that you guys had an outstanding Father's Day weekend had an outstanding Father's Day weekend there. But before we go to the phone lines to take your calls, gotta shout out Jimmy Cash Clay. That is donated the game. That $50 donation coming in there from Jimmy Clay, helping us out here on the show. That daily super chat goal of $75 has been met thanks to you, the Alabama football fans, the passion, the excitement that you guys have making this your show. Appreciate you guys for all that you do. But the call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. That is the number to get in to be a part of the show. We take a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
What's going on here, Stephen?
How we doing, man? How we feeling?
Doing all right. Hope everybody had a good Father's Day weekend. It's calling to ask your question about the the offensive line you were talking about. Who's our starting five? You know.
You said starting tackle?
Starting 5.
Okay, starting five. Now, if I had to put a prediction on this, I would go from left to right with my prediction here. I would have Neil left tackle, Tommy Brown left guard, Chris Owens center, right guard Emil Ekiyor, right tackle. I want to see J.C. Latham taking it right tackle. I really do. Now, Kendall Randolph could get it because of his experience, but J.C. Latham has just God-given ability as a freshman. So if I had to predict it from left to right here, Neil, Tommy Brown, Chris Owens, Emil Ekiyor, and J.C. Latham. We appreciate that call right there coming into the show, just predicting my starting 5 there for the offensive line. Going to be interesting to see how this all boils down. But as you guys are continuing to get your thoughts in here, 205-448-1358, that's the number to call in. 205-448-1358. Also, don't forget about Pierce Quick as well on an offensive line. That kid's really good. But before we get to our quick topic here, we got McConaughey! Oh my gosh! McConaughey with the 100-piece! McConaughey that dropped the Ben Franklin! Oh, mercy! McConaughey! Appreciate the love he's showing right there in the Super Chats. Helping us out here. Helping us out here at TDA on the words. But topic right now. So, big news came up today in terms of pay for play. So, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the players. It was the NCAA versus Alston. The Alston case, Mike Alston, who played for West Virginia. So, the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of the student athletes for them to be compensated. Now, when does pay for play come all the way in? It's making its way. I know there's been some pushback back and forth, but today was a huge day for the student athletes. Today was a huge day for the players. Our own Patrick Dowd, breaking news reporter, writer for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, put the story up today. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the players, ruled in favor of the student athletes over the NCAA, so compensation will happen. Compensation is coming here where the players are concerned. But folks, we take a break right now on the show. Don't touch that dial, because upon our return, we will sit down with Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, to recap the big recruiting weekend in terms of visits on campus. We speak with Justin after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We're back in here, folks, from the break on a Monday. Getting that work week started off correctly on the number one ticket for Bama football news. In my own word, George truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Everybody talking about commitments, talking about recruits, talking about who could be the next group of people that Bama will get in the 2022 class and beyond. Well, we got the guy right here that can talk all things recruiting with you, the real legend, the real MVP, the real boots on the ground. We got Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Justin, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, Steven.
Happy to have Justin Smith in here to talk recruiting. So last week, Justin, over the weekend was a massive weekend and a massive week overall for Alabama. So many student athletes, whether these were official visits, unofficial visits for 2022, 2023, 2024, and beyond, taking part in getting on the campus of the University of Alabama. But first and foremost, a little bit of news here. So Shemar James, the four-star from Mobile, he decided to give his commitment to Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators. I know a lot of Bama fans were shocked. Some people were surprised, a little bit disappointed because big-time in-state talent, big-time in-state kid. Now, you and I both talked about he was never just a strong Bama lean or a strong Bama lock. Alabama and Florida had been jockeying for position for his commitment for quite some time here, but James decided to give the go-ahead to Dan Mullen and Florida. So just initially, Justin, how much does this hurt Alabama losing James's commitment, if it hurts at all?
No, I don't think it hurts Alabama in terms of their 2022 recruiting class. There are a lot of great linebacker prospects in this class. It hurts in terms of Shemar James being a special talent, a guy who stands at 6'3", can do it all on both sides of the football. He plays wide receiver for Faith Academy. He plays inside linebacker, can rush from the edge. He really looks good as a natural linebacker. So he's a prospect that you look at and you say he may be, or he is going to be, one of the top linebackers possibly in the SEC in the future. He definitely fits that mold. So it is a loss because of what he brings to the table and because of the potential that he has at that linebacker position. So you never want to lose an in-state kid. And Alabama looked like they were in a great position with Shemar James. They hosted him, but they didn't get a chance to host him officially because the recruiting dead period wasn't in place, but he was on the campus of the University of Alabama on April 17th on Alabama's A-Day. He returned for an official visit on June 4th, and Alabama looked like they were in a strong position to possibly get a commitment from him down the line, but the Florida Gators were never out of the picture. I remember interviewing him a couple of weeks before his official visit, and I talked about some other schools that were pushing for him if Florida was the only school they told me about. So the Gators were always involved in his recruitment. So this is not a huge loss in terms of Alabama's 2022 recruiting class at the linebacker position being a huge bust if Alabama possibly does not get a signature from Shemar James down the line, but he is a talented prospect that they really wanted, and I can definitely see them continue pushing for him as his recruitment moves forward.
Absolutely, and it's still early. It's still early. If it's one thing that Alabama fans know, in recruiting, we have seen situations where players have flipped from Alabama to other programs only to flip back to Alabama late in the game. And then we've seen situations where Alabama's been able to go and flip players that at one point in time we're thinking about going to other schools. So it's still early in the game. Still got a chance for the Crimson Tide if it wants to try to flip Shemar James back to Alabama. But as we look at now here, Earl Little Jr., Justin, and we are on the phone line with Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA. Earl Little, Justin, enjoyed his visit to the Crimson Tide, so much so that his father, was seen kind of posing in the Walk of Champions down there where you got the little wall, the little holographic wall. He was down there having some fun there posing on the Walk of Champions. But Earl Little Jr. talked about after that visit, and you put up a story about how Alabama is now first on his board, first on his mind. What was it about the visit over the weekend that's so little on Bama's number one now?
I think it was a little bit of everything. He said that he loved every single second that he was in Tuscaloosa over this past weekend. So I think Alabama pretty much hit this visit out of the park, and they did a great job getting a chance to interact with Earl Little Jr. in person. They have had an opportunity to build a great relationship with them via Zoom calls, via phone calls. City has a great relationship with the Tides head coach Nick Saban, of course, with the Tides defensive back coach Jay Bala, has a good relationship with the Tides running back coach Robert Gillespie as well. So he has built a great relationship with Alabama's coaching staff virtually before getting a chance to meet them in person, and he was really grateful to get that opportunity, got an opportunity to tour the University of Alabama's campus, of course, really loved all of the technological advances that Alabama gives its players to use, really was impressed by the sleep deprivation bed that Alabama has inside their player facility. He talked a lot about that, and he said that Alabama was number one on his recruiting board. They're number one in his recruitment right now, no doubt about it. They are the clear-cut favorite at the moment. He does plan to get on the campus of the University of Alabama again in the fall for an official visit in November. And this is a special prospect because of the versatility that he brings to the game. He says Alabama wants to use him at that star position in the secondary, similar to the way that they used Mika Fitzpatrick in the past, and Malachi Moore played there this past season. So he's a versatile defensive back who can get it done in a lot of ways, and it will be a huge pickup for Alabama. Him gain a signature from him or possibly verbal commitment at some point in the future. His father was blown away by the visit as well, as you guys saw, as Steven talked about. He really enjoyed his time in Tuscaloosa, so it was a great visit for Earl Little Jr. and his father, Earl Little Sr.
If you're just tuning into the show, ladies and gentlemen, on Monday, we've got Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, just talking about the huge recruiting weekend the Tide had on last week. Now, Justin, Coach Saban and the program trying to figure out how will it go about recruiting the running back position, because once again Alabama, no more Keelan Robinson. He's now at Texas. Of course, Kyle Edwards is in the transfer portal as we speak. Also, Alabama has a commitment from Emmanuel Henderson. It's got a commitment from Le'Veon Moss. But you and I have both talked about Saban and the Tide trying to find different ways to recruit more running backs. How has that been what's been the process right now of Saban and the Tide going about getting, more running backs, in this class and the classes to come?
I think the biggest question right now is, do they want to add another running back to the 2022 recruiting class after grabbing verbal commits from Le'Veon Moss and Emmanuel Henderson? Even when Henderson first committed, it was clear that Alabama was going to go after another running back. Now with those two guys verbally committed, they hosted one of the top running backs in the 2022 recruiting class out of Mississippi, and Branson Robinson over the weekend. They are still going to recruit him. They are going to host 4-star running back Nicholas Singleton a little later this month for an official visit. So it is a bit interesting, and it looks as if it's going to be an interesting development to see if Alabama possibly wants to add another running back to this 2022 recruiting class after Keelan Robinson and Kyle Edwards hit the transfer portal. That is something that we might see, or we may see something where Alabama tries to make moves with the guys that they currently have. So that is an interesting development for the 2022 recruiting class, how Alabama will push forward at that running back position with them continuing to have top running backs in the 2022 recruiting class on campus.
Now, one of the fun things that takes place in recruiting, Justin, of course you know this, is having a lot of the older players host the young guys, host the recruits around the campus, and just seeing, Malachi Moore, Brian Branch, Will Anderson around these guys, taking these guys under their wing, showing them around. How fun was it? How cool was it to see a lot of these older players show these young guys what it's like to be at Alabama? How much fun do you think a lot of these recruits had?
Well, from what I heard, they had a lot of fun. I think it was really a strategic plan by the Alabama's coaching staff. If you notice, the guys that hosted guys were a lot of guys who played during their freshman season, so you get an opportunity to talk to guys who played pretty fast for Alabama, and that is not really – I wouldn't say it's really rare because Nick Saban plays a lot of freshmen, but getting the opportunity to interact with those guys and hear their story, how they quickly gain playing time. When you look at guys like Brian Branch, Malachi Moore, Will Anderson, guys that got an opportunity to host some recruits over the weekend. So I think it was huge for Alabama to get those young guys to talk with guys who are basically the same age as they are and talk about how they quickly rose on Alabama's depth chart and quickly got on the field. So I think it is huge for Alabama to get those guys to do that, especially at this point in the 2022 recruiting cycle.
He's Justin Smith, ladies and gentlemen, the scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, coming on here to just recap the huge recruiting weekend that the Crimson Tide had on campus. Justin, as always, man, we appreciate you coming on to give us the lowdown and the skinny. Take care of yourself, man. Be good. Stay safe out there, brother.
You do the same, Steve.
Always fun getting a chance to talk with Justin Smith, and looking forward to seeing who will be the next guy or the next group of people to give the Crimson Tide that verbal commitment, whether it's 2022, 2023, or 2024. You know what? I might have a few years of eligibility left. You know what? Let me stop my line. Let me stop my lies right there. I have no eligibility left to play for Coach Saban. But you as fans, you have some eligibility left to get those calls in. When we come back from the break, we get back to the phone lines to take your calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your texts, your interactions right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit weownthefourthquarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace. You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your four-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We're back in, folks. We are back in from the break of a number one form for Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine on a Monday. Getting that work week started off for you correctly as we're cruising through the month of June. Appreciating all of you for calling in, chatting in, writing in, donating in. Appreciate the joy, the passion, the love that you show here for us, making this your show. But as we're back in, those phone lines open. The call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. That's the number to call in right there to let your voice be heard, 205-448-1358. We grab a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Yeah, Stephen. Hey, this is Horns fan here again, Scott Sheridan. Really enjoy your show as always, the insights you take. Just saying about the kid committed to Florida over Alabama. You know, it's Bama has so many stud athletes. I can understand why some of these kids are a little maybe intimidated about going ahead and signing that letter with Alabama because of all the competition. However, I will say this. I wanted to jump back to this one more time. I'm super excited about Ben Davis coming down to the 40 acres in Austin. I still think this is one of those kids like this kid that just went to Alabama. You know, he was a 5-star, number 10 rated player in the country, and it just didn't pan out for him at Alabama. So I am hoping it would be such a good feel-good story if he has a breakout year and, I mean, is dominant in the Big 12. Just your thoughts.
I'm hoping the same for Ben Davis. I really do. And sometimes people just need a change of scenery. Sometimes people just need a fresh start. And this is a fresh start for Ben. So I'm hoping that whatever Coach Saban could not unleash in him, Steve Sarkisian and his staff can unleash in him, because I would like to see Ben get out there and have success. Definitely appreciate that call right there. 205-448-1358, the number right there to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. But as you guys will continue to get your thoughts in, we're going to transition to, more Bama in the NFL, and in this case, the Las Vegas Raiders. If you're John Gruden, You got Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Henry Ruggs. I mean, you got speed to burn on this roster. If you do not know how to use this speed, John Gruden, then you need to leave the game. You need to get out of the game and go back to commentating on ESPN, because you've got Josh Jacobs told reporters a couple of weeks ago, or last week as I should say, that he fought to get Kenyon Drake to Vegas. He pushed, he fought, he lobbied, he wanted to get Kenyon Drake to Vegas to play with him. And you got two of the most explosive backs to ever come from Bama in the Nick Saban era, of course. And you got both of these two guys very skilled, not just running the ball and speed and space, but catching the ball out the backfield. My goodness. I mean, Josh Jacobs catching the ball out the backfield. Kenyon Drake can catch the ball at the backfield. You can stretch him out wide as a receiver. You already know what Henry Ruggs can do as a straight speed guy. That's why I call him Henry Zoom Ruggs. So if I'm John Gruden and you've got all of his speed and plus the way that Josh Jacobs can finish runs, power, physicality, if you cannot make the playoffs with this lineup and have some type of a small run in you, if I'm Gruden, you got to get out of the game. You got to get Gruden out of the game if he cannot make anything work with this lineup. Because, I mean, my goodness, you got Ruggs, you've got Josh Jacobs, mercy, and you got Kenyon Drake. But we will see how the Raiders will play this. We will see how the Gruden Grinder plays this. But we take a break right now on the show. But upon our return, people, we'll get into, Bama's nominated for some ESPYs. The ESPY Awards coming up on July 10th, and Bama's been nominated in some major categories. What categories would I be referring to? We'll get into that after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSfootwear.com and get your All Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Back rocking and rolling in here, folks, from the break of a number one ticket for Crimson Tide news, notes, and information. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciating everybody checking out the show on today. And before we get into the final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com for all of you Bama fans still overjoyed with the Tide's national championship. We want you to check out our championship collection merch. Now, this means you grab you an 18 of them thing, folk, hoodie, t-shirt, or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18 We Do shirts. Designs that feature all 18 championship years on the back. You go to TDAwear.com, do it right now, TDAwear.com, and you go to the Championship Collections merch tab, and you get those shirts, those hoodies. You check out that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Well, Crimson Tide football in the ESPYs, folks. Bama football in the ESPYs, ladies and gentlemen. The ESPY Awards will be on July 10th on ESPN, if I am not mistaken. And for the Crimson Tide, it has been nominated in multiple categories here. And just to get into those categories right now, you got Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry, and the Alabama football team from this past season, 2020. So you've got, Devontae Smith nominated for 2 ESPYs. You got Derrick Henry nominated for an ESPY, and you got the Alabama 2020 team nominated for an ESPY as well. But starting this thing off here with Devontae Smith, he's been nominated for the best male athlete for college sports. He's also been nominated for best record-breaking performance. Now, the best male athlete in college sports, I feel like he should get this one because the only competition he's got is Trevor Lawrence of Clemson, but come on here, people. I mean, Smitty had a way better year. Heisman Trophy winner, Biletnikoff Award winner, national champion, unanimous first-team All-American, AP Player of the Year, SEC Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. I mean, Smitty broke the bank, broke the levee with the awards that he received. So definitely should get, best male college athlete of the year. Now, best record-breaking performance, that's going to be tough for Smitty. I mean, because he went out there in the national championship game. We all saw it, against Ohio State for 12 catches for 215 and 3 touchdowns and all of that in the first half. But he's got some tough competition. He's going up against Phil Mickelson, who won a PGA championship at 50 years old, and he's going up against Russell Westbrook, who broke the triple-doubles mark, which was set by Oscar Robertson. So it's competition there for Smitty. But I feel like he should get both of these. He should get the best male college athlete, and he should get the record-breaking performance. That's just my opinion. I think Smitty should get both of those, but he's nominated for both. When you look at Derrick Henry, King Henry has been nominated for Best NFL Player. Now, of course, in that conversation, you've got Tom Brady, among others. But King Henry had a monster year this past season. Let's not forget about this now. King Henry, 8th back in league history to record 2,000-plus yards rushing, 2,027 on 395 carries. Had 17 touchdowns. He led the league in carries. He led the league in yards. He led the league in touchdowns. Back-to-back NFL rushing champion. Put the Titans on his back. Took the team to its first AFC South Division crown since 2008. He got Ryan Tannehill paid, for goodness sake. He got his guy, Julio Jones, to join him. So Derrick Henry should win, may win, best NFL player here. When you look at the ESPYs, last but not least, you got the Alabama 2020 team nominated for best team. Now, of course, in this conversation, it's competition. You got the Tampa Bay Bucks, you've got the LA Dodgers, you've got the Seattle Storm for the WNBA, you've got the Baylor Bears for the NCAA men's college basketball, you got the Stanford Cardinal for women's college basketball, you got the Oklahoma Sooners for the NCAA softball. So some competition here, but when you just go back to what Alabama endured, right? COVID year. You didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know if we were going to have a college football season or not. And you had Najee Harris, you had Mac Jones, and other players, they step up and they lended their voice to the "we want to play" movement. And then you had all of the different testing going on that had to be taking place. You didn't have a spring. Summer was weird. Fall camp was weird. You had the conference-only schedule. Alabama had so many assistant coaches that missed games in the season due to COVID. Nick Saban himself against Georgia had the false positive. Against Auburn actually suffered symptoms and had to miss the Iron Bowl. All of this stuff just junk piled together. But Alabama, that 2020 team, how it stuck together, how it played together, the heart of that team, the will of that team, the fire of that team, the fight of that team, the leadership of that team, got all the way. Let nothing stop it. Got all the way to the CFP National Championship game, handled Ohio State 52-24 in Miami to capture Coach Saban's second perfect undefeated national championship season, to capture Saban's 7th national title overall, 6th at Alabama. Just an awesome team. Just an awesome team. and an awesome year, and just Bama should win best team. Bama should win best team just off of everything that program had to fight its way through. Off everything that program had to endure. And then you add on this right here to that. Parting ways from Scott Cochran, bringing in David Ballou and Matt Ray also. All of that. All of that. Having to have the freshmen that came in and them having to quickly learn the Will Andersons, the Malachi Moores, the Brian Branches, the Tim Smiths, the Jamil Burrows. You had to have all of those guys, learn that defense quick with all you had to endure, with all you had to face. Team still won a national championship. I think Bama should get best team here, but the ESPYS folks, like I mentioned, will be on July 10th. Alabama nominated for multiple categories, so best wishes to Devontae Smith, to Derrick Henry, and the Alabama 2020 team. Proud of each of those for just being nominated. Hopefully one of these, if not all, take home the awards that they were nominated for in the categories they represent. But as always, Tide Nation, you want the best in news, notes, and material here on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You can download the app from the iPhone App Store, Google Play Store if you're rocking the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you right here, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast.fm, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio. We got you covered there. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Wednesday, continuing the conversation that is Tide football. We got to shout out William Bryant. Holy cow! William Bryant, that $24.99 in the Super Chats. Appreciate that from Will and our own Spencer Everly, that crisp Abraham Lincoln, that $5 donation, helping us out here on the show. Appreciate the love from all of you making this your show right here. But as always, Tide Nation, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link will be found in the description. If you're also trying to cop that new edition, print edition, brush edition of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, you go to touchdownalabama.com. You click join, become a member, a subscriber today to get that. That link also in the description. And if you're also trying to copy that four-finger bling necklace, four-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of weownthefourthquarter.com, that link in the description as well. But until next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, continue doing the right thing, the good thing, the fun thing, the smart thing, the legitimate thing, to not be bored. You get you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. Protect yourself. Protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, spit in my own words.